It's really refreshing to see a movie like Promising Young Woman that doesn't glorify the whole act of revenge. There's just so many movies and TV shows where we're just rooting for that main character to go get the bad guys, take the law into his own hands, but not Promising Young Woman. So many movies and TV shows paint revenge as some cathartic, noble act, but in reality, this is seldom the case, as revenge just prolongs the hurt and puts the revenge seeker in danger. Promising Young Woman is the movie that gives the most accurate depiction of the true consequences for revenge. This movie is truly the anti-revenge revenge film. In Promising Young Woman, Cassie goes to any length necessary to avenge Nina. She loses out on platonic and romantic relationships. She has barely any career. I mean, she's working at a coffee shop that's way beneath her. Not that there's anything wrong with working at a coffee shop, but she had the capacity to do so much. But she was just so preoccupied with seeking revenge. All she could do was just go out night after night, find these random men, and just try to make things right in her own head. But the issue is, nothing that she did actually moved the needle in a positive direction. Her entire identity is wrapped around revenge, and that's not healthy. I can be an obsessive person, especially when I'm angry, and focusing on the bad can be so damaging to both your mental and physical health. Just think about a time in your life when you were wronged, and you'll probably just feel this feeling in the pit of your stomach, or maybe your heart rate will just increase, or your blood pressure will increase, whatever. Those are somatic responses to stress. And if you even felt just anything in those few moments that you were just thinking of a past bad experience, just think what Cassie's carrying around with her all the time. Seeking revenge isn't a cathartic exercise, as you'll be forced to relive painful experiences at the expense of living in the moment. How can you stay present in the moment when you're so focused on an event that happened years ago? And that's a lot of the reasons why Cassie is stagnant in her life, is because she's still reliving the past while everybody's moved on. While some people have become doctors, while some people have started a family, she's still that same woman she was 8-10 years ago, however long it happened. And even if we do succeed in a revenge plan, it doesn't change the past. Even Nina's own parents want Cassie to stop. Even they have moved on. Everybody in the film, except for Cassie, has moved on from Nina's death. And that's not disrespect towards Nina or other sexual assault survivors. It's just the reality of life. It's just what we have to do when something goes wrong in our life. Cassie could enact revenge on every person on her list or the entire male population, but that won't bring Nina back, thus making revenge a largely empty gesture. There is so much more you could do with your life than obsess over revenge. Revenge is like eating junk food, okay? It might feel gratifying in the moment, but it's not gonna really keep you going in the long term. In Promising Young Woman, Cassie seems content with herself night after night, but ultimately, her actions don't contribute to anything meaningful. Cassie had the capacity to do so much good whether she decided to continue in med school or drop out. But instead, she indulges in revenge, which is sort of the easy way out. It's easy to be rude to customers. It's easy to be mean to trashy men. But what's hard is moving the needle in a positive direction. It's understandable that Cassie would want to quit med school after what happened to Nina, but what she does afterwards doesn't help prevent sexual assault in the grand scheme of things. Sure, it stops and makes some individual men think about their actions, but Cassie could be reaching a much wider audience. She could have done so much more for the women that experience what Nina experienced. You know, maybe she volunteers at a women's shelter or leads like a support group for sexual assault survivors. There's just way more good that she could have been doing in the world if she wasn't so focused on revenge. Because revenge is just inherently destructive. It might not be as immediately gratifying as messing with some coked out douchebag, but it actually helps those that identify with Nina's struggles. But instead of helping others, Cassie just causes more destruction and pain. Revenge is inherently destructive for everyone involved. All it does is just prolong the circle of hurt. In Promising Young Woman, Cassie doesn't just hurt herself and her enemies, she hurts random men, the customers in the coffee shop, and even her own parents. Throughout the film, Cassie is just radiating this brooding, hateful energy that attacks everyone near her. This mindset doesn't discriminate. So in the end, yeah, Cassie gets her revenge. But what did it cost? Her life? Her parents' daughter? Was it worth it? Probably not. But revenge is rarely worth it. And in her quest for revenge, Cassie hurts so many people. Throughout Promising Young Woman, Cassie's anger should have been directed at a very small group of people, but instead she seems to take it out on the entire male population. Do a lot of these guys probably deserve it? Yeah, you know, you shouldn't be taking home drunk women with the intent to just use them. You know, that's definitely not okay. In the grand scheme of things, is what Cassie's doing actually moving the needle in a positive direction? Not really. We should be focused on what good we can do in this world. Were you bullied as a kid? Going online and like making fun of people isn't going to solve it. Were you rejected by a whole bunch of girls in high school? Well, you shouldn't go on incel forums and just spew a whole bunch of toxic bullshit. Okay, maybe you go and help the next generation of men cope with those feelings, identify those feelings, or even just sort of teach them that it's gonna be okay, that life goes on, that there's other women out there. But if you just go on those toxic forums and encourage that hate, well, you're just going to perpetuate that cycle. And even if the people Cassie punishes are bad, why does she get to decide? I mean, we've all made mistakes. We've all been somebody's bully, or we've been that idiot in the car that may have cut somebody off. And that's why it's really hard for us to take matters into our own hands, because nobody's perfect. So that's why we can't decide who should be punished and how to punish them. When we enact revenge on someone, we act as the judge, jury, and executioner. But the punishment we come up with may not fit the crime. We are too involved with the situation to think clearly and logically. And this might be even harder when the perpetrator seems to get off easy or scot-free. And while that might be hard, sometimes people change. I mean, just look at the lawyer character. She probably expected to find some rich asshole who had no regrets over what he did, but it was the complete opposite. He was begging to be punished. And that really shook Cassie, because I don't think she wanted this change to happen in this guy. I think she, in her head, wanted this just two-dimensional bad guy that she can punish. But people are a lot more complex than that. When we think of a high school bully or just someone who wronged us in the past, they may no longer be proud of their actions. They may have been tainted with desires to be popular or make money. No, that doesn't make their actions okay, but we need to give people the opportunity to repent, because we aren't punishing the same person anymore. And if you don't care about the moral or ethical implications of revenge, then maybe you'll care about how it could affect you personally. There's so many videos on the internet where somebody tries to go get revenge and it just completely backfires on them. Maybe they hurt themselves trying to light, somebody's car on fire, or maybe they actually damage their own property in the process. Maybe somebody goes to try to get revenge and the person they're seeking revenge against successfully defends themselves, or the person gets revenge, but then, the cops get called and they get a criminal record. Just look at like true crime and whatnot. I mean, there's so many murders and whatnot that might be justified as revenge, but in the eyes of the law, it doesn't work that way. You really just ruin your own life seeking revenge. Again, look at Cassie. She had to sacrifice her own life. Her parents lose their daughter just because she can't get over what happened. And her outcome is so common in revenge cases because plans backfire all the time. It's rare for revenge plans to go off without a hitch. It's refreshing to see a movie that doesn't glorify such a dangerous, destructive act. We all have probably fantasized about getting back at someone who did us wrong, but Promising Young Woman shows us why moving on is the much healthier choice.